Now, malaria is, of course, transmitted by mosquitoes. I brought some here so you could experience this. We'll let those roam around the auditorium a little bit. There. There's no reason only poor people should have the experience.
The difficulty with malaria is it's a very difficult market to get investment in. So we have been talking to the major aid funders like in Gates. So I'm hoping over the next few years that we get the green light and we get funding and we can have a go at that as well.
There's a technique called CRISPR that can change the mosquito DNA in a way that either the population goes down a lot or it doesn't carry this parasite. And we're talking through with the African countries what sort of tests, trials do we need to do before that gets added to the arsenal.
These are genetically modified mosquitoes, but they are not like any genetically engineered organism ever created before. They are designed to spread their genetic mutation in the wild and hopefully someday eradicate the mosquitoes that transmit malaria, one of the deadliest diseases on the planet. The mosquitoes were created using the powerful new gene editing technique known as CRISPR to carry a sequence of DNA called a gene drive. The gene drive empowers the mosquitoes to spread their mutation incredibly fast through their entire species. The mutation turns all the female mosquitoes into mutants, half female, half male. But these mosquitoes are really controversial. Critics fear they could wreak havoc with the environment if they were ever released into the wild. That's why Mueller and her colleagues are being so careful and only releasing them inside this highly secure lab.
For malaria, this is just one quote from one paper about a few of the uncertainties. It's unknown how quickly mosquito and parasite populations would actually react to the introduction of GM mosquitoes. You can have rebounds in disease, as was discussed earlier. You can have other species moving in. You're going to have a very complex ecosystem response. And there are significant ecological uncertainties inherent to the complex and shifting disease ecologies of malaria. So this is a recognition that the ecology of the disease itself can also change in response to any intervention.
Now to a report that might have you shaking your head or scratching it. Imagine controlling the mosquito population by releasing more mosquitoes. The Environmental Protection Agency signed off on a company releasing genetically modified mosquitoes in Florida and Texas. Oxitec has been doing this research for more than a decade. It successfully deployed genetically engineered male mosquitoes in other countries. For now, it's just a test in the United States. It'll roll out in Monroe County, Florida this summer and in Harris County, Texas in 2021.
Since 2021, UK-based biotech company Oxitec has released millions of genetically modified male Aedes aegypti mosquitoes in the Florida Keys. And the EPA has approved the release of 2.4 billion more in Monroe County and California under an experimental use permit. But the program has some worried.
We are just shocked that they were able to do this.
Ed Russo, president of the Florida Keys Environmental Coalition, has lived in the Keys for more than 20 years. He says his biggest fear is the unintended consequences.
When they release these things, what do you think is going to eat these mosquitoes? Dragonflies and fish, endangered species.
Russo wants the state of Florida to demand independent research, something he says federal regulators have failed to do. Dana Pearls with Friends of the Earth agrees, saying too much information is being kept behind closed doors.
Part of the problem is that although Oxitec has said that there are no risks, Oxitec still hasn't released key data from the Florida trials or even its own data from the labs. In fact, there are still no independent reviews anywhere for this version of the mosquito available for public review. So we are being asked to take Oxitec's word that there are no risks without any proof or data.
In extending the experimental use permit, the EPA says the company has not reported any adverse effects. Huff is watching the research, hopeful the experimental bugs could help fight the spread of deadly disease.
Officials are now reporting 5 confirmed cases of locally acquired malaria in Florida and Texas. Concerns are growing as this marks the first time we're seeing local transmission in the U.S. in 2 decades. The CDC is now warning doctors and public health officials to be on the lookout for more cases.
There's no reason only poor people should have the experience.